Hey, what's up? So, today we're going to talk about actions and presets. What's the difference? Why do I care? Basically, they essentially are a similar concept, but Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, I'm focusing on Lightroom and Photoshop, by the way. Lightroom and Photoshop, Lightroom uses presets, Photoshop uses action. And really, all they are tools to help you edit your photos faster and get a specific kind of look or style. In the case of presets, they're pre-made adjustments, all the different sliders, the color adjustments, the curves, the basic highlights and shadows, and all that kind of stuff. They're pre-designed looks that you can apply to your images. And in the later versions of Lightroom, they finally added a slider to let you adjust the intensity or overall amount of how those presets are applied to your images. Now, Photoshop actions are routines. They're a set of steps that you might typically do on a lot of your images regularly. And we're going to dive into an example here, and I'll show you how this works. But basically, the actions play out a pre-recorded set of steps in creating layers, creating adjustment layers, setting those different settings for, like, for example, if you apply a curves adjustment layer and set it to the S curve, you can create an action that automatically does all of that all in once, so that you don't have to continually create the adjustment layer and then adjust the curve. You can just click on that, run it, and it will automatically do that for you. So that's a simple example, but using actions, I've built my own action set for my portrait work, and it has saved me just countless hours of editing photos because I've got frequency separation built in there, I've got dodge and burn, I've got color balance and toning, and I've got eye and skin enhancement stuff built in there. So let's just dive in and show you some quick examples. Real quick, in Lightroom, I'm in the develop module. This is a portrait session. Nothing at all has been done to this photo yet. It is still completely as captured raw. Over here, I've got a set of pre-made presets. These are my own design, I have photographer's layer, and you can download these for free in the link in the newsletter, just as a thank you for being subscribed to my newsletter. Once you download them, go to the file and then just click import presets and then go to wherever you saved those. You'll need to unzip, it's a zip folder, so you'll need to unzip that and get that so that Lightroom can read it, but just import them and this will show up and you'll have these to play with. So there's black and white classic, there's a sepia, there's soft kind of dehaze or a slightly soft focus version of black and white, and a subtle sepia. Just a whole range of different ones, like a cyberpunk kind of look, daylight punch, desaturated. Cinematic grit is one of my favorite ones, so let's just go with that. So we'll click on that and it sets all the sliders to what I use a lot for creating a cinematic kind of portrait look. Now, right above that, preset cinematic grit as an amount slider. So maybe it's a little too intense. I can bring that down just a little bit so that it doesn't quite, a little bit of highlight on her nose might have been blowing out. And then you can actually come in and, tweak that a little bit for your specific image, because presets are designed around somebody's work. You might not shoot, more than likely you won't shoot the same way that I do. So this is going to look very different in your images. So maybe you want to bring the exposure down or up or change how that looks in each image. You can absolutely do that. But these give you a starting point that creates a look and feel that maybe you like. So there we go. That's a great starting point. One of the other ones that I have in here is called pre-Photoshoppery. That's just my little weird speak for, I like when I say I'm doing Photoshop work, I'm doing Photoshoppery. Anyway, this one reduces the contrast of the image a whole bunch and kind of flattens it out, because a lot of the work that I do in Photoshop, especially when I'm working on composites, adds in a lot of different depth and additional contrast by working on highlight and shadow toning and all that kind of stuff. So that's one that I use a lot for that kind of thing. But let's take this with the Cinematic Grit preset applied to it and go over to Photoshop, and I'll show you the actions. So I'm just going to edit in Adobe Photoshop. Takes a second or two, or 12. Drops it into Photoshop. Okay. So one of the things that a lot of people or a lot of editors will do is something like dodging and burning. So you create a curves adjustment layer, bring that up, and then invert the mask so it doesn't do anything, and then we create another curves layer and bring that down and do the same thing on the mask. And then if you use a paintbrush with white, and we'll set that to 20%, it'll give, I usually use 10, but just for the sake of doing this quickly. So that's on the burn layer, so I was burning the highlights down. I actually meant to work on the shadow layer, but see, I didn't do my naming scheme, so I wasn't sure where I was working. So let's work on the highlights like this. Okay, bring that across the wrinkles a little bit, make them pop, and something like that. I'm just doing a quick and rough job of this so you can get the idea of what I'm talking about when I show this. So now we've got a real quick and dirty dodge and burn. So if I group those together, turn them on and off, that's, you can just create some enhancement in the lighting using that. Okay, so generating those layers every time I want to edit a photo would take a lot of time. So I've built out an action set, photographer's layer, like this. I call it Portrait Master 2.0, and there's different aspects to it. So if I just wanted to do dodge and burn, I can just run the dodge and burn action. And if you click on these little drop down arrows, you can see it's selecting the layer, making an adjustment layer, setting that adjustment layer to the specific curve that you want, and then changing the mask and all of that. But it does it automatically. You just click the play button down here. So, and it's saying select is not currently available because there's only one layer. One of the things I typically recommend is doing any blemish retouching before you run an action like this, because whatever, it's designed for that. And then we have our dodge and burn, those curve adjustments, and you can select them, double click on the little curve icon here and adjust them if you want to. But real quick, dodge and burn, they're already pre-labeled, so I know what I'm working on, and I can go in here and do the dodging and burning that I wanted to. Okay, so my entire action, this Portrait Master 2.0, again, didn't do my blemish retouching. I usually create a new layer and do, you know what, I'm just going to stop that. I want to show you exactly what I typically do. So Control or Command J to create the new layer. So now we've got this, and I'm just going to come in. She's got one pretty good one right there. We're going to clean that up real quick. Okay, that's typically, again, doing a little more quick and dirty job of this than I normally might, but it's all about giving you the idea. I'm going to clean up that hair real quick. Couple of little wrinkles in here, creases, that kind of thing, and we'll go with that. Okay, now if I run my action, photographer's layer, Portrait Master 2.0, and play, you can see it runs through. This is something that pops up so you can adjust the amount of the frequency separation. I almost never do any adjustments to this. In my workflow video, it goes through how or why you might want to adjust it, but most of the time, portraits like this, no need. It works just fine the way it is. So real quick, we've got 4 different sections. There's the frequency separation, dodge and burn, eye enhancement, and color toning. So if I want to, I can come in here real quick and let's see, just do a lasso tool, come through, select the skin on her forehead, and we'll do simple blur, Gaussian blur, and set that. If you go too far, you can get rid of all the texture in her skin and make it look really funky. I don't want to do that. So real quick, we've got some simple ways to just even out some of the skin tone colors using a basic frequency separation. Now, yes, there are much more involved ways of using frequency separation, and that's great. Here's the dodge and burn layers. So again, you can go through just using the brush. The majority of this action set is set up using masking, and so you can just simply use a black or white brush to reveal whatever aspect of each of these layers you want to use. So dodging to enhance a little bit of the highlight, a little bit more on the shadows on her cheeks. We'll kind of clean up a little bit of the dark eye. Again, doing a quick rough job of this, but you'll get the idea. And then we have eye enhancement. So they're sharpening. I'm going to go just really quick. A little bit of adding light into the eyes. So we do something like that. Bring out a little bit of the brown tone that's in her eyes. And then there's color toning. So we can create a little bit of an overlay and do some overall scene dodge and burn to just kind of punch down some of the different areas of the image. And then create a little bit. That was too much. 10%. There we go. So with that, come on. You know, there's the color toning, changed that. There's a little bit of eye enhancement, dodging and burning, and the frequency separation. So using that kind of a tool, I cut the editing time for portrait work like this from probably 20 minutes per photo down to 5 to 10 minutes. And once you get used to using it, it's just an amazing tool to be able to work through editing images in Photoshop really fast. And this is just one example for action. If you are interested in this action, there will be a link in the description or in the newsletter if you're a subscriber to that. So I hope that helps you kind of understand the differences between presets and actions and how they might be used. If you want to record actions, shoot me a note. I'd be happy to set up a demo and walk you through that process so you can record your own action sets in Photoshop. Thanks. Take care.